Think about the last time you had a scoop of ice cream, a piece of cake, or even noticed the scent of a high-end perfume. Chances are you were experiencing vanilla. But over the years, the word vanilla has degraded into a synonym for default. We think of it as plain, uninteresting, and usually born in the stainless steel vats of industrial factory lines. That assumption is completely backwards. Authentic vanilla ranks as the second most expensive spice on Earth. It comes from a delicate tropical vine, and producing a single batch demands over a year of grueling, highly precise agricultural labor. To understand how this globally dominant flavor actually comes to exist, we have to drop the idea of basic entirely and look at the precarious, high-stakes journey of the vanilla bean. Our story starts in the orchid family, highly prized for its ornamental blooms. Vanilla is the only orchid producing an edible crop, but this plant has a severe biological timer. Its flower opens for exactly 1 day before dying. If pollination doesn't happen within that strict 24-hour window, the flower simply drops to the ground. No pod will ever grow. Because of this incredibly tight deadline, farmers cannot afford to wait on insects. They have to step in and manually hand-pollinate every single individual flower on the vine. The foundation of a multi-billion-dollar global flavor industry rests entirely on a frantic window of meticulous, flower-by-flower manual labor. Once successfully pollinated, the plant enters a vulnerable growing phase. Farmers spend the next several months aggressively guarding the vines, carefully regulating moisture, controlling temperatures, and fighting off disease. If the crop survives these threats, the reward is an abundant harvest of long, bright green vanilla pods. But if you were to pick up one of those fresh green pods and take a deep breath, you would notice something strange. It is completely odorless. The famous vanilla aroma doesn't actually exist anywhere on the living plant. It remains dormant, held within the cellular structure of the green bean. Nature only builds the container. Creating the actual flavor requires humans to drive an intense chemical awakening long after the bean has left the vine. This chemical awakening is called the curing process. It kicks off by dropping the green pods directly into a hot water bath, a sudden thermal shock that activates their internal, dormant enzymes. From there, the grueling, weeks-long daily cycle begins. Every morning, thousands of pods are laid out to bake under the harsh daytime sun. As the sun sets, workers gather the heated pods and wrap them tightly in special containers. This traps the heat, forcing the beans to sweat and rest overnight before facing the sun again the next morning. Look at this comparison between artificial and natural flavor. On the left, a single flat compound represents synthetic vanilla. Now look at the natural structure on the right. The repeated thermal trauma physically shrinks the pod, turning it black, and generates a sprawling network of over 200 distinct aroma compounds. That massive chemical network is why artificial vanilla tastes flatter. It simply cannot replicate the natural structural depth. The iconic scent we instantly recognize is actually a highly orchestrated chemical reaction, driven entirely by weeks of relentless, repetitive agricultural discipline. Once cured, the beans face a strict quality grading phase. Workers inspect every individual pod, sorting them by length, moisture content, and aromatic strength. The highest grade beans are then exported and sent to processing facilities, where they are submerged in a water and alcohol solution for months. This slow, deliberate extraction process pulls those 200 flavor compounds out of the pod and into a liquid form, which brings us right back to that scoop of ice cream or piece of cake. What you are tasting is the culmination of a single-day bloom, an emergency hand-pollination, months of delicate vine growth, and weeks of intense chemical curing. True vanilla represents a luxurious, highly complex convergence of biology, chemistry, and extreme human patience.